All right, thank you very much, Jenny. All right, it is 12:01. My name is Patty Richards. I'm the chair of the Vermont Community Broadband Board, and I call our regular scheduled meeting of November 10th, 2025 to session. We have Sarah Hoffman, Brian Otley, Dan Nelson, myself. Laura Sibilia is not with us yet, but I think she is joining us at some point later. We have a quorum, so we'll kick off the meeting. So that is our roll call. First on the list of things to do is approve the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda in our packet. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'm going to give that to Brian. Any discussion of the agenda? Any changes? All right, hearing none. Christine, do you have anything?
No changes. Nope.
Okay. All right. So all those in favor of the agenda as provided in our packet, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 4-0. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes of October 13th, 2025. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes provided in our packet. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sarah. Discussion of the meeting minutes. I'll note one small typo in paragraph 4, number 4. Instead of NTIA, there's an acronym labeled NITA. That's the only thing that I saw for correction. All right, anything else? Okay, all those in favor of the meeting minutes with that one revision, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes
Patty,
carry 4-0. Yeah.
I will abstain. I wasn't there for the entire meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we've got 3
Simple.
approvals, 0 no's, and we have 1 abstention, Dan Nelson, as he was absent from the meeting. Okay, that is approval of the meeting minutes now. So now let's move to item 3, which is public comment. And I see Laura has just joined us. Welcome, Laura.
Yes, for public comment, I'll take that. I'll lead that. And if anybody has any comments, please raise your hand, or if you're on the phone, just speak up and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak. And then we'll proceed. So anybody have any public comment at this point? Okay, I'm not seeing any.
Okay, we'll close public comment for our early part of the agenda, public comment. I'll just remind folks that we have a closing public comment toward the end of the meeting if there is anything that you want to bring up later. All right, so that now moves us to item 4 on the agenda, which is cybersecurity. Christine, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, this is informational because there's been quite a bit of activity the past couple of weeks with outreach to the CUDs as well as to the VCBB. And the VCBB staffs received communications from the FBI Threat Analytics Collaboration Unit and the Department of Homeland Security, as well as CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, with respect to initiatives to secure the communication infrastructure of the CUDs. And VCUDA has reached out to VCBB to inform us that they've received such outreach as well. And we became concerned that FBI and CISA was asking the CUDs to implement a program called Taloni, which would allow the FBI to monitor passively monitor customer traffic by attaching an appliance to the networks. And we reached out to Commissioner Johnson and his staff, specifically Hunter Thompson, to get more information on this. And the commissioner advised us that he's been working with the FBI and CISA and the government and the governor's emergency preparedness agency. And he does not believe that either federal agency is proposing using Taloni. So while that request has come out, there's no official request for that. And you know, we talked about the concerns about providing education and training to the CUDs, which we are in the action doing. And the commissioner's real focus was on natural disasters, you know, as Vermont's fifth in the nation in terms of disaster declarations. So we're meeting with FBI CISA, and we are going to meet with them. It's been deferred due to the shutdown, but we will keep the board appraised of what's happening here. And that's my update. Take any questions.
Hey, Christine, can you help fill in, at least for me, maybe you've said it, but I just missed it. What is so the FBI wants to monitor broadband infrastructure?
Well,
And-
you know, the FBI and CISA is concerned about the cybersecurity of all our telecommunication networks, and of course,
And
we are
remind me
as
what
well.
CISA is?
It's the FBI's threat analytics unit. It's called the cybersecurity and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure
Okay.
Security Agency. So they're focused on both utilities and telecommunications.
And they're part of DHS.
They're part of DHS. Okay, thank you.
So they're looking at the broadband infrastructure purely from a risk component.
Yes.
I'd like to know more about what their underlying rationale is for stepping in and looking at the infrastructure.
Their rationale is a large percentage of the attacks that are coming from hostile agents are directed at the telecommunications and electrical infrastructure. So they, you know, at the highest level, want to make sure that we have the proper firewall and other associated protections in place with our telecommunications infrastructure to ward off hostile threats. Those hostile threats may not even be foreign agents. They could be anybody with bad intent or attempt to capture private information that may not be on those networks. And even so, from our perspective, you know, it's about keeping Vermonters' communications private and protected.
Are any individuals, help me with how far the process goes with the FBI working on the security aspect of the system? Are any individuals email traffic or any individuals targeted or I'm not asking this very well.
Well, I think I know where you're going.
Go to I guess the question is, does the FBI probe go to the level of the individual on the system, or is it a high level monitoring of the system?
We haven't been asked to do any other than this TAL&I, which has been, you know, apparently not necessarily as the commission reported. That's not an official request. But the right now it's the protocols and the processes to ensure that the network is secure. Right now, as far as our networks go, we have not had any formal request to put devices on to actually monitor specific communications of Vermonters. So that's and the TAL&I is where we had the worry about that. That's why we raised that issue of TAL&I, because that does give the agencies the ability to drill down to actual communication traffic. But we have not. What we've been assured from the commissioner is that that's not an official request, and that as the state has not considered that kind of a device.
Okay, thank you for that. And obviously, we want to make sure our systems and our electric infrastructure are secure and safe. But at the same time, if there are privacy concerns, you know, Vermonters should know in the event that their email traffic or their online traffic is being monitored. I just think Vermonters should know that to some degree if it gets to the individual level, just from a privacy concern standard.
Yeah, we've heard clearly from the board that you want your Vermonters' private information kept private. So we
Exactly.
will definitely inform the board if we think there's a risk of that occurring.
Okay. Laura has her hand up. Laura, you're up.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I understand the current information we're receiving. And so you're letting us know that the FBI has been in touch around securing our broadband infrastructure, both with you and Commissioner Johnson and with the CUDs, but has made no specific requests for us to do anything at this point.
Well, other than to attend the training and make sure we have the secure networks. In other words, they haven't formally asked to put any appliances on or to monitor specific traffic on our systems.
Okay. That to me definitely would raise to the level of a board discussion before agreement.
Yep, that is my commitment to the board. That will happen. If that should ever be the case.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Christine, anything else to present before we go on?
No.
Okay. All right, let's now move to item 5, which is budget report.
Yes, the budget report. JB Ledoux will take that report. Christina Sweet is on vacation. So JB, take it away.
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks. I'm going to share my screen. So this is by now familiar presentation that Christina gives every quarter. Just exploring the expenditures that we've had for the first quarter of the year. Also a brief update on federal funding and an update on the ARPA obligations. Based on the budget that the board approved at the end of last fiscal year for the fiscal year 26, these are the expenditures we've had in the first quarter. Everything seems to be very much on track. We did separate out the contractual and the indirect as those costs kind of are accrued and not very standard timing. A lot of them aren't charged until the end of the fiscal year. So that way we can see the budget the initial budget categories of personnel and board costs and things of that nature. We're running about 22%, so right on target. And total, including the contractual and the indirect, we're running at 18% of expected. I don't think that there's anything, are there any questions on this particular slide?
Yeah, JB, I had a couple questions for you.
Sure.
On the internal service fee, that we're at 9%. We're running at 9% of what we budgeted. Is that a timing issue? And can you just remind us what internal service fee? What that line item covers?
Absolutely. There is a timing aspect of that one as well. There is things such as workers' comp insurance, fee for space charges, insurance other than employee benefits, general liability insurance, internal service costs as vision for our software programs, ADS allocations. These are things that kind of come up like twice a year or quarterly or even less frequent charges. So there is definitely, it's not posted in a monthly or quarterly fashion. Therefore, it will take a little bit of catching up before that reflects completely accurately the percentage.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that. And then my second question was on the contractual line item.
Yes.
We budgeted about 2.7 million, and we're running at about 16% of that. Is that also some of the contracts are just later on in the year?
Yes, absolutely. Those, yeah. They're not, the expenses show up when the invoices are actually paid. So some of the things just haven't happened yet in the fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah, we also tend to budget. Of course, last year, remember, we way over budgeted. We moderated that this year.
Mhm.
But, you know, with this, what you're looking at is the contract amount, not necessarily the spend amount. So we, you know, that budget item is kind of the top level that we would spend. We don't expect to reach that top level, but that's the
Correct.
contract amount.
Yes, thank you for that, Christine. That's a good way to put it. And the indirects, as we discussed when this budget was approved by the board, we hadn't really shown that on the operating budget slides in the past. We decided that this year it would be a good idea to do that. And those are expensed twice a year by the PSD business office. So in about January and about June, those charges will be expensed. So until then, that's going to run at 0%. So by the end of the fiscal year, it'll accurately be in there. But until then, it's going to seem off.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
I see Dan Nelson has his hand up. We'll go to you,
yes.
Dan, for questions.
Thank you. This may seem like a strange question, but what is the source of the revenue to pay these expenses? And what I'm targeting more specifically is, are we using all state dollars, or are we using any of the federal grant money to administer the federal grant dollars?
Yes, that's a great question. This is a combination of funding sources for this particular budget. For instance, personnel, the fiscal year 26 personnel budget that we came up with as 1.6, that draws from every source which we pay personnel costs from, including the USF funds, but also the federal grants, for instance, BEAD and ARPA, things like that. Another example would be the indirect cost of $200,000. We split that in the budget between USF funding for $100,000 and then federal funds for the other $100,000. So it's a combination basically of all funding sources that we have here. The two major categories being this. Oh,
yeah,
go
I would
ahead,
add too
Christine.
that contractual is pretty much driven by the grants.
Yes.
So you're,
I mean, in other words, paid for by the grants. Contractual is primarily paid for by the grants because it's grant related activity.
okay. Then you're probably not prepared to talk about the percentages and how that all is derived, but maybe sometime in the future you could talk about that.
Sure.
Yeah,
I feel that we did discuss that at one of the meetings, and I think Kay and I had done a small presentation about the percentages. I could be misremembering. No, that's fine. I could be misremembering. It might have been something. I'd have to check with Kay. It might have been something that was actually brought forward by the board and that we intended to do and might not have got around to actually doing it, or we did do it. Let me clarify that with Kay when she's back from vacation. And it's something that we absolutely could present in the future. It would take just a little bit of time to figure out. For instance, like I could break down that 404,000 for personnel costs between the different grants or the federal and state funds relatively easily, but not like in real time right now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand that. And I apologize if you have, and I didn't either remember that, but out of the 4.8, I'm sure you have some formulaic method that brings you to how much was federally paid for, how much was state paid for. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything further until I go to the federal funding update slide? Okay. All right, so news for federal funding. Our final proposal and funding requests have been submitted to the NTIA for the BEAD grant. We have approved affordable long drop program awards. Let's see here. The Regional Forest Economy Grant ends on September 30th, 2026. And the Economic and Infrastructure Development Grant through the NBRC ends on December 31st of 2026. And the closeout report and the reimbursement requests have been submitted along with some further information that was requested for the State Digital Equity Capacity Grant. We have not heard about the reimbursement for that grant yet. And the final slide that I have this afternoon.
JB, before you.
Oh, yes. Yep. Sorry.
Before you move from that slide on federal funding,
Yes.
with the Northern Border Regional Commission and the Economic and Infrastructure Development Grant, are those grant funds, have they been fully allocated, expended, and all that good stuff? They're being utilized. We didn't leave anything on the table, did we?
Yes, we did not. We are. I'm not sure if the NBRC ones are fully. Excuse me, if they're fully obligated yet, but I know that they're definitely being worked on as we speak, and there's not going to be anything left on the table. The Quantified Ventures contract, which was funded through NBRC, was canceled for convenience, and that freed up some funds that they already have plans for. So I that's another thing that if Christine has any further information, if she wants to pop in about that.
Yeah, my understanding is we've got somewhere around $100,000 yet to obligate, but we are working. My commitment to the board, it will be fully obligated in the next month. So we still have an amount that we need to obligate out of the total.
Great. So you've got your eyes are on it, and the goal is to get every penny obligated.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yes, there's been a lot of good work on this grant in the last couple of months, and things are looking great.
Thank you. That was my question. Anybody else have questions? Okay, floor is still yours, JB.
All right, great. The last slide is about the ARPA fund summary. Our Chief Recovery Officer, Doug Farnham, has encouraged staff to not allocate any less funding to administrative costs under the ARPA CPF award. So we are already budgeting far less than allowed for administration. The ARPA CPF is fully allocated, and the ARPA state fiscal recovery is fully obligated. At this point, we should not allocate any additional funds to project costs. And we still have some administrative costs to allocate out of the CPF. But things are looking good, and they're starting to wind down, especially the SFR as it's fully obligated. Any questions here?
Sounds like a great update. Thank you very much, JB. Any closing questions? Christine, anything from your end?
Nope, nothing from my end.
All right.
All right, I'm
Thank you
going
very
to
much.
stop sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, JB.
Okay, that does us for completes item 5 on the agenda. Let's move to item 6, which is the Franklin Universal Service Plan and Affordable Long Drop Program approval.
Yeah, I'll actually take the lead on this. You may not have any questions for Brittany because this was a follow-up from the last meeting, which the board contingently approved the Affordable Long Drop program, the 100K to Franklin Telephone, pending a revision to their Universal Service Plan. You can remember their Universal Service Plan said they would serve territory, but since then they've revised the 3 words and committed to ensure all 3 towns are covered for universal service. So we're pleased to announce that Franklin has updated with the requested revision, and therefore we're recommending that the board approve the contingency as approved, and approve the grant, approve the changes to the USP, which included those 3 words that they're going to address all 3 towns, as well as the grant itself.
Okay, so any questions before I make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Do we have any communication from those 3 municipalities in support of this?
I didn't know that was a contingency. We've not talked to the 3 towns.
I believe that is the language in the law.
I'm not sure. Could you be specific of what you're requesting to do?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
Tony's
looking for
got her hand
the
up.
language in the law, but I think it says a provider working with municipality. So that would lead me to believe we would see something in support from the municipality.
Yeah, so if I could just say, I think we have met the legal requirement in having Franklin indicate that their universal service plan, that they had a universal service plan to all 3 of those municipalities. And that is all that is required under Act 71.
So I'd like a moment to call up the language, if possible. If not possible, that's fine. I will vote no.
Are you asking?
Maybe we can table this. Maybe we can move on past this and then come back to
Sure.
it.
All right, why don't we let Laura look for the language that she's researching in Act 71. Let's table item 6 on the agenda, Franklin's Universal Service Plan, and we're going to come back to it once Laura finds the language. Any objection to that? Okay. Let's move to the parking lot. And again, we're going to come back to item 6 at some point here, but let's move now to the parking lot so we can keep going.
Sure.
Okay, Jimmy. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, no problem. So the parking lot report this time is going to be quite brief. We do have 2 slides, which there we go. This slide and the next slide are items that we continue to work on with the current hiatus in the BEAD programming. Staff is heavily involved with Northwest work and beginning to pivot to catch up on these ongoing assignments. Parking lot item 148 was completed in the last board meeting. And that is the parking lot update for this time. So feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions or concerns. I'm happy to follow up.
Okay, any questions on the parking lot information in our packets? All right, seeing none, let's keep moving. Laura, any luck on finding the language you're looking for?
I am in the bill, but I have not
Okay.
quite.
All right, let's I'm gonna let you keep exploring. Let's move to item 8, Vicuda update. And I know, Rob, you have a limited update, but let's move to you just for an opportunity.
But two things actually from the earlier discussion. One on the NBRC grant, as you know, it's been very helpful. We have a piece of the VCBB's grant that is assisting Vicuda the last couple of years and helps fund some of the activities we've been doing. Obviously, that will be winding down next year with the end date at the end of 2026. And so there are kind of 2 activities there. One, we do think we're going to have some unexpended funds as well. And so we've been talking to Christine about how best to make sure those are fully allocated and used before the date expires. And I think we've got a couple creative ideas that Vikuda will be talking about for that. The other one is just, when those funds expire, what Vikuda itself looks like, as we will be reduced to a smaller number of dues funds and not have the support of the grant. And so we're working on that as well, and we'll have something to share with you at some future date. The other item I just wanted to share was related to cybersecurity. And there are a couple of us within Vikuda that have been through standing up a cybersecurity program in the past. And so we've started a series. Richard Asimov at NEKCV is going to be leading a kind of brown bag session for a number of weeks to kind of help folks understand the NIST framework for cyber infrastructure security. This is something that the BEAD recipients have to do, but that is good for all of us. And I would just encourage you guys to think about this in two ways. One is there is proactive cyber infrastructure security that organizations in the business we're in should work their way through over a period of years. It's not a checkbox, it's a program. It's a continuous kind of looking at your risks and putting processes and procedures in place to mitigate them and being prepared for eventual activities. So that's the proactive activity. And the FBI and CISA and some of these other organizations actually have a lot of materials to help organizations like the CUDs or other telecom providers advance their cyber infrastructure programs and be prepared for threats. And so we're doing that internally. Richard's going to be leading that. And we'll have a bunch of conversations with the CUDs kind of about how to institute those programs. They're going to be different for every CUD because their needs are different based on their operations model and kind of how they do their different activities. But there's a framework. It's developed by NIST. Same people who tell you how to measure what temperature you need to measure a gallon of gasoline accurately to get to the same result in every state. They have a cyber infrastructure framework that helps organizations move into more mature over time cyber infrastructure security. The second piece is that piece about specific requests for the government related to monitoring and other such things. And what I would suggest there that actually would be a great topic for kind of an all grantee executive session. Probably not something that that we should do in the open. But I think that the principles that you laid out about being very clear about transparency and privacy issues for consumers in Vermont. We are in complete alignment as far as I can tell of everyone I've talked to on that. But some of the specifics about what do you do if you receive a subpoena or a court order, who you can tell, and what happens upstream of us in the internet related to some of these monitoring programs is a much more nuanced conversation than you can have publicly. My own experience is honestly, they typically do not monitor or come after the smaller fish. They go upstream in the internet to bigger points of aggregation where they can gather more information. And the stuff you've seen in the media over the years has been very much about that. So anyway, I would separate the issues. There's kind of the proactive training and building cyber infrastructure, proactive, and then there's responding to these occasional requests for monitoring.
Thank you very much, Rob. Good points.
Okay. Thank you.
Any comments, questions of Rob? All right, hearing none, let's move on to our next item. I'm going to check in real quick, Laura.
Yep. Question
All right,
on.
We're going to come back to item 6 on the agenda, which is the Franklin Universal Service Plan.
Yes, I am not seeing the language, and I'm not going to hold up the meeting any longer on this. I am seeing that we would not conflict. It would not conflict with the existing plans of CUD. So this is all in Northwest CUD. And so we've assured that this does not conflict with, and how have we done that?
Yes, the Northwest Universal Service Plan does not include those towns.
The Northwest CUD does include those towns, so the service plan, but the
Well, what I
service
mean
plan
is they're
does not.
they're, what I mean is they're not constructing to those 3 towns.
So as I quickly reread the law that we passed, I believe it says that as long as we can fund this, as long as it does not conflict with an existing CUD.
It does not conflict with an existing CUD.
And so I am asking how we know that.
Well, because we've been told that.
Have you done your due diligence, Christine, to verify that it doesn't conflict?
Yes, we
With a-
have. We verify every address and we do decomplete. It's actually required as part of our BEAD grant to ensure that we don't provide. I mean, yes, if Alyssa was here, she could explain in detail how we go through that deconfliction process, but we look at every address.
So I guess I would just want to, since, I guess I would have wanted to have seen something from the CUD and or the municipalities, that this does not conflict.
Well, we can put this off we can provide that additional information if you like, and we can put this off for the next meeting. If
I would like that, actually.
If that is the will of the board.
Laura, would you be amenable to taking action on this item with a contingency that staff verify and come back to us with that verification at the next meeting that there is no conflict with the CUDs?
Well,
That
I
way we
need to
can
know
put
how to do
things-
that because we've just said there is no conflict. So if you would like to go through an address by address, we can bring the GIS files. I would like to know what you're looking for, Laura.
So I'm looking for something from the CUD that says that this is not a conflict.
Okay.
I guess it's an interpretation of the law. So,
Is the only CUD in play here Northwest?
yes, it's entirely within Northwest.
I saw, I think it's Mary Kay had her hand up. Mary Kay, are you on?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would like to invite Mary Kay to respond. Mary Kay, are you aware of the Franklin Telephone Company's efforts? And I'm going to ask it specifically. Are you aware of their efforts, and are you? Can you chime in on any potential conflicts?
Yes,
if
ma'am.
any? Thank you.
Sure. They did do a reach out prior to applying for it. That I did know about, and I do support them for their existing troubles as we have them in our CUD across the board. However, what I did not know is that they are now doing universal service for Sheldon, Franklin, and Highgate. So the addresses that I did have there for any future for my construction plan, I did not know. So that was not something I was aware of. I was concerned that we are still responsible.
All right, so I want to table this item then. Christine, I would like for you to follow up with Mary Kay and Northwest and try to get these items worked out so that we can come back to it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to table item 6. Okay, any other questions? And Christine, you're clear on your assignment, so to speak?
Yes, I am. I think it's sitting down
Okay.
with Mary Kay to understand her concerns.
Okay, all right. So more to come on that one. All right, let's now move to item 9 on our agenda, which is the KPI quarterly report. The plan is to move into executive session, but before we get there, is there anything you want to tee up in public session on the KPIs?
No, this is our standard monthly board review of the status of the quarterly review. This is the formal quarterly review of the specific numbers. We do go in monthly to talk about generalities, but this is the formal review of the numbers, which are confidential because they relate to the business plan.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to remind people before I make the motion, for board members and any staff, make sure that your microphone is not on mute, because when you make the transformation to go over to the executive session space, if you're muted, then you can't unmute once you get over to executive session space. So I'm going to make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A6, which protects records exempt from the access to the public record law, specifically 1 VSA section 317C9, dealing with confidential business records and information. Is there a second?
I shall second that.
Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 5-0. So we'll stand by and Jenny, I assume Jenny will move us over. And the
Yes, I
appropriate
sure will.
staff as well. Thank you, Jenny.
Yep. So yes, we have determined who should be in the executive session. So I'll open the room now and everyone will move over.
Great.
Yeah.
Patty, I think we have everyone back.
Okay, great. All right, we are back in public session. The only action item that we took in executive session is we instructed staff to take action to come up with some data for us. We're looking for a comparison of rates among CUDs and also rates of on the competitive landscape for anybody that is offering internet service within the CUD service territory, including any teaser rates that competition is offering. That was the action item that we came out of, or after reviewing our KPI quarterly reports, that was the only action item that we took in executive session. Okay, that now brings us to item 10 on the agenda, which is the CUD business plan review. Christine, is there anything in public session to talk about, or are we going to move directly in?
Yeah, we'll move directly in. And of course, the reason we're doing this is because of confidential business information that we shared.
All right. I'm going to make a motion that we move into executive session for CUD business plan review pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A1F, dealing with confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Laura. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of moving into executive session, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes carry 5-0. So we will now move over, and I'll just remind folks, make sure your mic is unmuted because you won't be able to change that once you get into executive session.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open the room now.
Thank you.
We're almost done, I think.
Patty, I think we are all back in public session.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jenny. We are back in public session. There was no action taken in executive session, so we are completed with item 10 on our agenda. Next, we'll move to item 11, which is public comment. Christine, will you run our final public comment?
Yes, at this point, we're open for public comment. Please raise your hand, or if you're on the phone, let us know, and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Okay, not seeing any public comment.
Okay, public comment is closed. Thank you. Item 12 on our agenda is just to confirm our next meeting, which is December 8th. I know we're getting close to the holiday season. Does that work for everybody to attend?
I cannot, Patty. I'll be on vacation out of country.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like fun.
And I will have my normal, don't have it today, but my normal 1 to 2 meeting.
Okay. Brian, are you able to attend?
Looks good for me.
All right, so we'll stay with December 8th then. Sorry, Dan, we'll miss you, but we'll catch you up later. And
Yep,
Laura,
thank you.
hopefully your time is short out of the meeting so that we can have you with us for more of the meeting. Okay, that brings us to our final item under 13 of our board agenda, which is a board review executive session. I'm going to make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A33, authorizing a public body to hold an executive session to consider personnel matters. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Patty.
Thank you. I'm going to give that one to Laura. Any discussion? For those attending this one, it is just going to be the board, no staff. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 5-0. Jenny, if you could move us over, that'd be great.
Yep, just one
Okay.
second. I'm just reorganizing who's going to be joining that meeting.
Okay. And Christine, I'll follow up with you. Dan, are you able to follow up as well?
I am.
Dan and I will follow up after the meeting.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm opening the room,
Thank you, Jenny.
of course.
Oh, do we need to take an affirmative action? I see join room at the top here. Clicking join room.
Everyone, this concludes the public portion of the meeting, so I'm going to end the meeting for everyone. Thanks so much.